as a leader, you are being very open and very aware of your mistakes and how you impact others. But you had mentioned not only how to let business lines go, but piling too much on your employees. And then they're, as we talked earlier, they're not performing well. They're not showing up as their best. That's, it's got to be challenging to dance around and know when that happens. I mean, it sounds like that happened to you. Do you have a story or an instance where you finally realized, or it blew up to the surface?
Yeah, so, when you hire your first employees, small business owners will say all the time, well, they have to wear many hats. They have to wear many hats. Well, that may be true, but you can't expect them to be good at all the hats. People are normally good at 3 to 5 things, 5 max. I mean, 3 things most, right? And as a small business owner, when you're growing, you keep asking people if they can do more, and they will, if they love you, they will always say yes, whether it's in their sphere of influence or not. And so I had an employee this was happening with, and they kept saying yes, but they weren't good at some of the things I needed them to do. And I realized all of a sudden it wasn't their fault, it was my fault. I was asking them to do things that were no longer in their sphere of influence and things they were good at. And so I had to find other people to do that and get them back to what they were great at performing. So sometimes we torpedo, I think is the word I'm looking for, our own employees. And so part of EOS is having weekly meetings to talk about what's going right and what's not going right. It's not your meeting. It's like a 10, 15-minute meeting. You get together with each one of your direct reports and you're like, what went well for the week? And they share that. And then you ask them, what do you think could have gone better for the week? So you don't ask them what went wrong. What do you think could have gone better? So they're more willing to share. And then what do you need from me? What tools, what things do you need from me to do your job better? Those 3 questions are pretty amazing.
When I think to, some people might sit back and say, okay, Debbie, that employee who kept taking it on and it wasn't in their sphere, I mean, that's their fault. They should have spoken up. What do you say to that?
What I say to that is high performers and people want to please you as a leader will not speak up when things aren't going right because they think it means they're failing. Now, are they failing? Yes, but they think the failure means that you're not going to like them anymore. They can't be an employee anymore. There's all this baggage that comes with failure, which is why I talk about it a lot, because you to grow, you've got to allow people to fail. That weekly meeting allows them the space to say what's not working. And they've got to own up to it. And it's okay. Because then you can work on it together and decide, is that in their sphere of influence or isn't it?
And probably they've heard it before. The person didn't really mean it. They spoke up and they got bit. So they probably need to hear it from you many times before they realize, oh, she really means she wants to know this stuff. This is for real. I can open up.
Remember, when we learn, we've got to hear something 7 to 10 times before it takes. So as leaders, that's very annoying. You want to tell people something one time and get it done. And why do I have to repeat myself? What is going on there, right? Okay, that's not how we learn. It's not. We've got to hear it 7 to 10 times. So when you're mad at Joey because he didn't do what you asked him to do and it's something new, it's probably because he only heard it one time. And remember, people are interpreting what you're saying. And so we all interpret things differently. So you got to have a discussion with people to make sure that they're actually understanding what it is that you need.
That's very important. Something I'm learning within the last few years is you may jump to the quick statement, but wow, there was so much thought prior to getting there. And often if you don't share that lead up or that behind the scenes thought, that's where miscommunication, stories, people will write their own stories about what's going on, and that leads to issues versus had you just been mindful to share all that information leading into it.
So if you're listening to this and you're like, they're a CFO company and all they've done is talk about people, there are 3 things that impact your bottom line the most, I think. One is that sales, pipeline that I talked about, really important tool. The second is your pricing and how does your pricing work in your business. You should be doing price increases every single year. Price increases every single year. Your vendors do not ask you if it's okay for a price increase. They just tell you what it is and expect you to pay it. That's how you should handle your business. You tell people what it is and expect them to pay it. If your price is really out of whack, you adjust it for new clients and you grandfather your old clients so you don't lose them. There's pricing strategies. And then the other thing is productivity. Productivity is all about your people. Your people control your profits. I want to say that again. Your people control your profits. How happy they are, how productive they are, what their work looks like, their work-life balance. It all impacts how they perform for you and how they perform for the company. People are an incredibly important part of your profitability. Remember that first statistic we started with? That employee culture, 25% better profitability. A lot of things we talk about deal with people.
It's so true. People talk about, okay, well, if I put these things in place, they'll be happy. But it's actually, that's probably the wrong way. I'm imposing what I think you want.
Exactly. When the pressure came off of me is when, so our team's all remote. So we'll do quarterly events and I stopped planning them. I said, who on the team wants to plan the quarterly event? And you know what happened? They got events they liked.
So sometimes we think as the leader, again, we need to have all the answers. We need to be coming up with these things. And then we probably hem and haw over, I've got to make this perfect. When if we just handed it over to the people we want to impact by that activity anyway,
right,
then it's better.
Yeah, your people show up in your numbers. Your people show up in your balance sheet. Your people show up in your profitability. Your people show up in your cash flow. So we do all those reports and forecasts and all those number things, but it's the things behind the scenes that our team helps you think about and what the impact is on your numbers.